Now for our Mangru one-on-one, which is being brought to you today by Money and Markets. You can find them on the web at moneyandmarkets.com. And joining us from Singapore is the author of A Gift to My Children, A Father's Lessons for Life and Investing. He's the founder of the Rogers International Commodities Index and an investment legend, Jim Rogers. Jim, it's always a pleasure and always good fun.
It's my delight, Dan.
There seems to be a huge hysteria surrounding Greece. Initially, they needed only a $30 billion bailout. Next, their credit rating got cut. Now it seems all hell is broken loose. Now, is Greece really that big of a threat to the economy, or are we really just looking at hype?
Well, it's some of all of the above, Dan. Greece itself is a very, very, very small player in the world economy. But if Greece goes, it might mean Portugal and Spain and a few other European countries, including the UK. And then we have a mess on our hands, at least in the financial sector. It's not the end of the world, I assure you, although the people will tell you it's the end of the world. At the same time, Dan, since people don't know what else to do, they're racing into U.S. dollars. Not that the U.S. dollar is not a terribly flawed currency, too, and the U.S. government's a terribly indebted entity. It's just they don't know what else to do for the moment.
You talk about the UK and all of Europe going into collapse. Now, if that happens, will high-growth economies like China and India also fall as well? Well,
you know, Europe and America are 10 times the size of the Chinese economy. And the Chinese economy is 3 times the size of the Indian economy. So if America and Europe get into trouble, I assure you the rest of the world is going to suffer too. Even if China and India somehow continue to grow and prosper, they're just not big enough to offset the decline of Europe and the U.S. We in the West, in the U.S. and in Europe, are going to have more problems, whether it's this year or 2012. I don't know what, Dan. Our problems aren't over. Our bear market's not over. These problems are going to come back to haunt us and to hurt us either this year, next year, year after, sometime in the foreseeable future.
Now so many people are worried that speculators are ruining the financial markets, making them unfit for individual investors. Now, so can you tell us, as an individual investor, where can you put your money to profit?
What to do with your money? As far as I can see, the best place to have your money is in either sound currencies or real assets. Now, for my money, real assets are a better place to be because throughout history, when governments have started printing a lot of money, the money has gone into real things, whether that's silver or cotton or natural gas. I mean, something that's real that people can use. Putting in the paper money at a time when paper money is being debased all over the world is usually not a good thing to do.
Now, I wanted to talk about the financial reform bill that's coming down the pipe in Congress. Some people say it's anything but, everything from institutionalizing the bailouts to incentivizing bad bank behavior. What's your take on the bill?
It's a waste of time, energy, money, and everything else. Who knows what the unintended consequences are going to be? I can assure you, and I haven't read the bill, but I can assure you without reading it that there are going to be many problems that are going to come from this bill, and 5 or 6 years from now, we're all going to look back and say, oh my gosh, how did that happen? Dan, we don't need more regulations. The industries that caused the problems recently were all extremely well regulated. Insurance, banking, mortgages, those industries were very regulated. It's not the regulations that cause the problems, it's the regulators. The SEC went to see Mr. Madoff 6 times in 12 years and said he's fine. There's not a problem with Mr. Madoff. And most of the SEC guys, it turns out, or many of the SEC guys, were sitting down there watching pornography instead of, doing their business. It's competent regulators we need, not more regulations.
Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke looked like he was starting to get tough on the banks by raising the discount rate earlier this year. However, he seems content to continue on with easy money policies. What do you think is his strategy?
His strategy is to stay in office. His strategy is to make sure that he doesn't get thrown out. He can't get a real job. All he can do is go back to academia, and he knows that. So what he's trying to do is to pump things up so that the economy looks like it's getting better. He'll keep his job. Everybody will think he's a hero, and he can go on to bigger and better things. He is not doing good things for America. He is not doing good things for the world. He is certainly not doing good things for American citizens. Dan, what he has done is basically he is destroying the class which saves and invests. I mean, people who save and invest, the people who've been prudent with their money over the past 5 years are getting demolished by this. They're getting virtual zero interest rates. And so all the people who had been going out and making getting themselves deep in debt and making big mistakes, he's saving them at the expense of the people who were prudent. I mean, this is insane what's going on in the U.S.
In your book, A Gift to My Children, you offer practical and ethical advice to your own children. And what my question is that from that book, what's the #1 lesson that you can offer to baby boomers who are, let's say, looking at a lost retirement, who are facing down, the depths of foreclosure, and who just may be looking to make ends meet?
Well, my main advice is to be skeptical of everything you read and hear. Don't believe something until you yourself have done your homework and know it's correct. Do a lot of homework, whether for any investment, for any course of action. Know what you are doing, not what somebody tells you, because most advice, we now know, has not been very sound advice. Stick with your own knowledge, stick with your own common sense, and that's how you will be successful at anything, whether it's investing or music or sports or anything else.
One thing that boomers are worried about is the raising of the retirement age. And when you combine that with the poor U.S. economic outlook and a huge decimation of retirement funds over the last 2 years, do you think that the only way for boomers to survive is to work even harder and even longer than they already have?
For 50 or 60 years, there's been a contract. You work till you're 65, we'll give you your Social Security money back. And now they're going to say, oh, we're going to change that on you after 50 years. I mean, how can we put up with these guys in Washington any longer? They keep changing the rules, and we're the ones who keep getting screwed, left, right, and center. I found it outrageous, but people do have to be prepared, because Congress will change the rules, not to benefit the citizens of America, but to benefit themselves so that they can keep their control. But be ready for it. But if you have to continue to work, figure out what you love most of all and pursue that. Don't do what I say or anybody else. Just follow your own passions.
And Jim, just a final question. One of the things you're known for is your bow ties. And I just wanted to ask you, just for the viewers out there, is there a story behind how you first started wearing the bow ties?
Well, Dan, it's just that bow ties are cheaper than long ties. I'm a simple person. I didn't set out to have a trademark. And, you can't spill soup on a bow tie. You can spill soup on a long tie. If you have to get a bow tie cleaned, it's a lot cheaper than getting a long tie. It's just because I was a poor boy from Alabama. I was doing this as a practical measure. I like them. And now it's a trademark, according to you. I didn't start out that way.
Jim Rogers, founder of the Rogers International Commodity Index and the author of A Gift to My Children. Jim, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Dan, it's always great fun with you. Anytime.